Welcome to Alpha Wolf Trading. Do you know that there's over 12,000 stocks or companies that trade on the OTC? Between the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, you have over 7,000 companies. But us as retail investors, we wouldn't know that unless we were researching. Because why? Wall Street focuses on the elite, the big companies. And where the retail investor has their advantage is in small and microcap stocks. Why? Because you have the opportunity to speak directly with leadership. That is what this is all about here at Alpha Wolf Trading. We're trying to find the hidden gems, and we interview the executive teams of companies that we think meet the parameters to be those hidden gems. I also want to make sure you understand that this is not a paid-for promotion. I collect no compensation for the interviews I do here. These companies that I interview have been identified as potential opportunities for me and the members of Alpha Wolf Trading to receive a higher than average return on our investment. These companies I have identified either because of a technical setup on a chart, a fundamental change within the organization, new management team, new products, all kinds of different things that actually lead me here. But what do I think is the most important? Leadership. And that is why I do these interviews. I want to understand what drives the person that is leading the charge. I want to feel their passion. I want to understand their vision and the strategy that they're going to use to achieve success. That is what these interviews are for. I want to understand the share structure and the cap table, the size of the TAM, the total addressable market. This is the opportunity to learn all of those things. So sit back and enjoy. And if you learn anything from today's interview, do us a favor. Subscribe to the Alpha Wolf Trading YouTube channel. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. I recommend highly that before buying any security, you speak to a financial advisor and do your own due diligence. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with a follow-up interview. It's been a while too. But it's been a company that I have liked, and it continues to be a company I like. And Jin Kang is the CEO from Widepoint. Ticker symbol is WYY. And Jin, thanks for coming in. The last couple of interviews that we've had were probably, not super uplifting because of the fact that the stock was challenged. But, I've had faith in Widepoint, and I certainly have faith in Jin Kang and your team. And things are starting to develop, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Tim, for having me on, right? And, when we talked, a couple of years ago and probably a year ago, we were doing okay. And we said that we were going to be turning the corner. And we have turned the corner into, cash flow positive territory, as we said. 2023 was a tough year. 2022 was a tough year. But, we've turned the corner here. We made all of our, capital expense, it's done, materially done. We have a little bit of, CapEx investment that we're going to make, just to keep our solutions up to date. But, it's nothing material, maybe in the order of 100, 150K a year. So that's not a lot. We had a string of, successes with new customers that we captured. FCC, FAA, FEMA, Heartland Bottling, Mobile Doctors, Cox Communication, Frontier Communication. And these are just the stuff that we captured in the last, quarter, Q4, and probably towards the end of Q3. We have a lot of, customers that are, just on the cusp, and we have more press releases on the horizon. We put out a press release, not a press release, but an 8K that we had to file to meet statutory requirements with the SEC. That was for a $20 million contract, and and you saw the press release for our $60 million contract for FEMA. And then, the Q4, aggregation of all of the wins that we got was, $70 million in, total contract value. And as I said, there are a few others that are on the horizon, which I can't mention until we actually win it. I wish we could put out press releases, but the business that we're in, where we're securing, our customers' IT infrastructure and mobile infrastructure, they don't want us to, get a lot of, attention from the outside. And the reason for that is because they don't want to be hacked, and they don't want to say, "Hey, we got Widepoint as our identity and access management and cybersecurity solution provider." They may just spur people on to try to break in,
Right.
and so they want to kind of keep it on the down low. And also, a lot of our customers are federal government customers, and they especially don't like press releases going out. However, we have been putting out our 8-K filings because SEC requires us to put out these 8-K filings when material events happen. And
Right.
so that's how we've been putting, sort of out, quasi press releases. And we've been doing press releases that aggregates various things, so it obfuscates the name of the customer, and our customers like that. So as I said, we're in a great position. We have plenty of liquidity.
Just as a quick, in case there's anybody that's watching, Jin, that doesn't know what WYY does, just a quick
Sure. Yeah,
explanation.
so we provide trusted mobility management, and essentially what that means is we help our customer secure, manage, and provide visibility into their mobility assets, right? And we provide this in a very as a service model. For example, device as a service, IT as a service, digital billing as a service. So we're providing what we call technology management as a service solutions to large enterprises, both public and private. And we have specific intellectual property that we built from the ground up specifically to manage our customers' mobility management needs, as well as their identity and access management. We provide the basis for zero trust security model. I know that this thing's been zero trust security models have been thrown around everywhere, but we were zero trust when zero trust wasn't even a terminology, right? And so essentially what zero trust means is that you are verifying the identity of either the endpoint or the individual that are using that, and that's zero trust security. Well, how do you identify an individual? With strong identity and access management, and that's what we provide. And the federal government's zero trust security model is built upon that, our identity and access management. So we are now at the confluence of mobility management, where you manage mobile devices for our customers, as well as providing identity and access management for our customers. And we're merging these two functionalities together to be able to provide trusted mobility management, where we help our customers secure, manage, and gain visibility into their mobility assets.
Got it. So let's talk about a couple of things that you have accomplished in the past. You had the Department of Defense that you had won. I want to say it was about a $500 million
$500 million contract with the Department of Homeland Security. We have had this contract now for approximately 3 years. And it's a single award contract, meaning we competed with the big boys and the big girls, and we won this contract. And it's not a set aside for small business, although we are a small business and we do qualify in this particular area. But we beat all of the big boys and the big girls out there. And we won this $500 million contract. And this is the second time we won it. So we won it the first time, and we won the follow-on contract. And, of the $500 million, we captured approximately $500 million of work underneath it. So this contract goes out for another couple of years, and we're already talking with our customers to increase the ceiling on that contract. So a lot of good things to happen. We're continuing to capture new work under that contract vehicle, and the way federal government contract works is that they'll set a contract ceiling, and if you capture more work underneath that contract, they will increase the ceiling so that you can perform additional services. So far, we're ahead of schedule, and we should have some additional news to announce probably around the February-March timeframe on that contract, on the status of that. But it's going really well, and we're well positioned to win the next follow-on contract.
You had the Census Bureau during COVID, right?
Right. So we won that contract right around 2020, 2021 at the end. I'm sorry, at the end of 2020. And so we were going through this whole, COVID, but, the federal government continues to grind along, right? And that's the beauty of the federal government business, is that, no matter what happens out in the world, there's so much inertia in the federal government business, even with all the craziness with the budget battle. The federal government continues to roll along, right?
Right.
And so it provided a pretty solid base for us, and so that we can use that base to launch into commercial sectors, which we're doing, and we're finding a lot of commercial successes in the trusted mobility management area. And as I said, Heartland Bottling, Mobile Doctors, Cox Communication, Frontier Communication. These are all commercial entities. And we announced this 8K, which was a subcontract to a commercial entity. And so all of these things are happening. And as I said, we hit that inflection point now. You should see the results of that in our Q4, which we will announce in March of this year. We're also contemplating putting something out earlier, maybe the first week of February, to kind of give you a preview of the Q4, the highlights of 2023, as well as sort of the preview of 2024 for the full year.
So, one thing I want to credit you on, Jen, is look, you have always said, you did an acquisition. There was it was expected that they were going to be accretive earlier than it was, but then again, we did have a pandemic, and we did have a supply chain issue, and we had a lot of other things going on. So sometimes things don't always happen exactly as you think they're going to happen, right? Life happens, shit happens. I think is the way it is.
Yeah.
And then, but you never back down. You said it's we're going to work through it. It will come. You just got to be patient, right?
Yeah. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, right? As you say, Tim, there's a lot of things that happen that's out of our control. But we've been in business for a long time, and the management team, we're operators. We know how to operate. We know how to cut costs. We know how to continue this cash flow positive and stay in the game, right? You see a lot of small micro cap companies. They're no longer around, right? We've been around. Our current management team took over in 2017. We were
you're on the doorsteps of bankruptcy.
Yeah. Right.
That not you, the previous management.
Yeah, right. And so when the new management took over, we said, we got to make changes in here so that we can get to profitability and stay in business. And since then, I mean, we've been cash flow positive. We've been adjusted EBITDA positive for now 23, 24 consecutive quarters. And we see that trend continuing. We actually generated cash, and we did the acquisition of IT Authorities with cash generated from operations. This was back in 2019. And, we just never look back, right? We ended the third quarter with $8.5 million in cash. And we're going to continue to add to that. And as I said, we're cash flow positive now, and we're trending to cash flow positive for Q4, and we see that happening throughout, 2024. And so all of these things are, coming together. We've been getting a lot of interest from PEs and venture capitalists that they want to lend us money, and I just kind of have to tell them. I say, look, we have plenty of liquidity. We don't need to borrow money, right?
Right.
And if we need to go out and do some acquisitions, we're going to do it smartly so that we're not hurting our current investors, right? And we don't want to dilute our current investors. Management team owns a pretty good chunk of Widepoint. We're probably at 13 or 14%. Myself, I have about 6% of Widepoint, and so we're in the same boat. We as our investors, and the last thing we want to do is to dilute our investors, right?
Right.
And so now that we're going to be cash flow positive for Q4 and all of 2024, we're going to start putting more cash onto our balance sheet. And when we do that, we'll have to figure out what we're going to do with that. And if there's nothing to invest in, maybe one of the things that we could do is to buy back some shares, right? And so all of those things are available because the current management team know how to run the business efficiently and profitably. And we got plenty of runway now, and we don't see ourselves circling the drain like many of the the micro cap companies that are out there. And we got we have a very good business model, and we have a fairly solid, pretty solid solutions in our trusted mobility management. I mean, we help our customers secure, manage, and gain visibility into their mobility assets in this post-COVID environment where people are working from remote sites and dialing in and calling in from all different places of the world into your IT infrastructure. You need to be able to identify those devices and the people that are dialing in and calling. Dialing in is the wrong word. That's old people talk, right? Connecting.
Yeah,
Connecting to your infrastructure. I think that's the right word. Connecting to your infrastructure, you need somebody to come in and secure and manage those devices for you, right? And give you visibility. How are those devices being used? What data are they taking from your IT infrastructure, right? What data are they uploading to your infrastructure? Is that an approved device that is connecting to your infrastructure? All of these things we help do with our trusted mobility management solution.
For the Census Bureau, when you had that contract, right? What was so? Give everybody just a quick indication of exactly what were you responsible for?
Yeah, full lifecycle management of these mobile smartphones, mobile devices. And 2020 was the first year that they had a successful launch and use of these smartphones to do the census. They had, planned to do this in 2010, which was a complete failure. They went back to paper and pen, and they took the census. And prior to that, it was stone tablets and clay tablets and all of that. But 2020 was the first year that they actually was successful in collecting all of the census data using the smartphones, right? We were responsible for all of the logistics, getting the device in, buying it from the carriers, setting all of the information that's on there, imaging them properly, putting all of the connectivity back to the Census Bureau, putting all of the apps on, and making sure that device was ready to go. And then when that device connected to the census infrastructure, we make sure that that device was secure and it was who they say they were from, right? And so we did all of that. We did all of the logistics for almost 700,000 devices. We brought all of those devices back once the census was done. We wiped all of the devices to make sure that there were no PII, personally identifiable information on those devices. And then we recycled them into either inventory or we sold them on the secondary market. And those devices that were kind of really broken or, dropped down the the sewer or what have you, we took those devices and we recycled them, responsibly using what they call R2 processing, responsible recycling processing. And we did all of that without losing a single device, without having any of the data being breached. And we did it all, during a pandemic.
During that time, that COVID.
During a pandemic. We did all of that during the pandemic, managed the largest, mobility management project in the world, bar none, right? And so we're already talking with the Census Bureau in doing the 2030 census, right? So here we are in 2024. We're doing some prototyping and things like that. And there's another technical refresh things that are happening at the Census Bureau, and they actually invited us to come and bid on those projects. And this is just a sort of like the software and hardware technical refresh. And so when the 2030 census happen, we will be ahead of the game and making sure that they have all of the devices that they need in order to perform the census project. So, it was a, very lucrative project for us. It doubled our, carrier services revenue, but that's okay. And that went away, and you saw this huge spike up to 180 million, and then back down to something like 100 million.
Right.
So that's okay. We'll take that, and we'll keep, telling our investors to let them know that this is coming, and it's a very hugely profitable project for us. And it's too bad that it's only once every 10 years.
Right.
But we can't change the Constitution.
Right. You can't change it. So what? Right. But I can tell you this. What a testament to the quality of the service that you provide, right? So during a pandemic, I'm sure they were worried that they were going to have issues, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you came through with not one.
Yeah. Yeah. We came through there, and they kept talking about extending the census because they weren't able to get the stuff done. But it wasn't us. I mean, we essentially said, you let us know what needs to be done. We'll get these, devices, bought and shipped out to the enumerators. And we, as I said, we did all of that, during a pandemic without losing a single device, without having any type of cybersecurity events, all of that. And so, and hopefully we'll win that. I think we're in very good position to win that again. And we should hear something, the RFP coming out probably in 2025 or 2026. And we'll be bidding on that, and we'll win that. And, our top line will show that. But, even without the census project, what we currently see, with all of the contracts that we have on board now, if we did not win another, project, I think we would still are looking at, double-digit percentage growth of our top line and our managed services revenue. And we're, projecting to be, cash flow positive, right? And so how much of that, we'll have, a sort of a preview in the first or second week in February.
Okay. So the other thing I kind of want to highlight with you is what I think is fascinating about WYY is, you have those cards for identification that literally could have your social security, your
driver's license number,
your
healthcare insurance number, all of that,
right, your passport, everything could be on literally one piece, right? Which
absolutely, right. And so this is what we're talking about here is that, on this smart card, you can have everything that you need. It's essentially a universal, identification card that you can use for pretty much everything: purchases, emails, encrypting emails, signing documents. All of these things can be done. And as you say, all of your identification information can be stored on this chip. And that chip is, is a hardware, encryption. So if you try to break into it, it'll automatically wipe itself out. And now what you can do is you can marry this thing up with a Bluetooth reader, something like this, as you can see. And what this will do is it'll connect directly to your notebook, or your iPhones or your, Droid phones. I don't want to be, cutting out Samsung here, but so you can use that to connect. And so that's what we're, trying to do now, is to be able to connect these devices to your Samsung or your iPhone,
Yep.
and you can use it to sign documents, log into your, infrastructure, all of those things, and you can be identified using the most secure multi-factor authentication solution available on the market today, right? And so what I do is when I come in, I turn my reader on and I stick it in my pocket, and I log in using that, and I don't use a user ID and password. I use the PIN that is stored securely on that chip, right? And so federal government uses it. All of the federal agencies, including the Department of Defense, it's been implemented there. And so the other thing that I want to let you know about is that what you can do now with this card is that you can encrypt all your emails, all of your files, and no one can break into that file, right? And what that allows you to do is to preserve your right to privacy, right?
So when you say no one can break into it, there's a lot of chatter about quantum computers right now.
Correct. And so the answer is this chip and the algorithm, the hash algorithm, is what they call quantum resistant, algorithm, and the cybersecurity model. And essentially what that means is that it will take a quantum computer at today's power 140 years to break in, to decrypt it. And so once if and when the quantum computer catches up with the level of security, you essentially double the number of chips, and that makes it even longer to take to break in. And so if you go onto Wikipedia and look up quantum computing resistant algorithms, you will see secure hash being one of those 5 types of algorithm to do that. And so and as I said, it's the most secure multi-factor authentication solution available, that you can use it for signing and encrypting documents, whatever you want to do, sending emails. So whenever you get an email from me, you'll see a little red ribbon on there that says that thing is being sent by me because I sign it, right? And that that's me, and that that's not a phishing attempt, right? So no more phishing. You can encrypt all of your files, all of your emails, so no one can break into it or eavesdrop on it. Not even the law enforcement agencies. I'm not going to make any political statements here, but it will allow you to, preserve your constitutional right to privacy. Right.
Yep.
Right. So if you put all of your, you can use this to encrypt all of your files on your computer, and it will, ensure that no one can break into it unless they have this card and the PIN that's on that card, 2-factor authentication.
Got it. So I always said, I bring this fact up a lot for whatever reason, because I try to think of ways to make our economy more efficient, right? If we make our economy more efficient, then we're not spending as much money. And then if we're not spending as much money, maybe we can fix some of the other things that are screwed up, right? But it's government and it's politicians, and it's a matter of really keeping society dumb and divided is the way I like to say it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a terrible thing to say, but it's the truth. I mean, a lot of the social issues that are being brought up, I'm not going to say they're not important. I'm going to say there's other stuff that is way more important that people are not paying attention to because they're distracted by the stuff that's not as important. Does that make sense? And there we have a lot of, if we want to worry about things, there's a lot of things to really worry about. And it's not the things that everybody is getting divided over. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But that's how politicians roll. And then I think about this solution that you have. And what would that mean? Because there's a department for every one of these things, right? If you want a passport, I mean, there's literally a department for every one of these things. Your driver's license could be on there. Your healthcare could be on there. Everything could be on this one card, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so
But
they can use it. They could use it to, voter IDs, for example, right? And so you have voter ID, you have passports, driver's license, your, healthcare,
voter registration,
yeah,
green card, I mean,
on a
all of that
single
stuff.
card, right? And you can be identified by that one chip, one card, right? And so one vote, one chip kind of thing, right?
Yep.
And so,
vote, one chip.
yeah, and it could be, your universal ID, right?
Yep.
You can have all of your, benefits from your Social Security Administration can be on here. All of those things can be done with a single ID card. And then once issued, right, even if you lose it, that no one can do anything with it. You need to be able to have the pin on that device in order to unlock it, right?
Right.
And if you try to break into it, it erases it. So I mean, this is like the perfect solution.
How long of a pin is it?
Say again?
The pin? How long is the pin?
You can have a 4-digit pin or a 6-digit pin or an 8-digit pin. Mine, have a 6-digit pin, and that's kind of the standard for the federal government. But
okay.
You can use like a longer pin if you want to. You could also use your fingerprint to unlock your cert, right? And so you can actually have a fingerprint image on your smart chip, right? It will convert it into some, take all of the points in your fingerprint and converts it into some long string of numbers. And then next time your fingerprint gets read, it will transfer it into that number and see if it matches, right? So you can use that.
Right.
You can use an iris scan that on the device to do that. So there are many ways to, skin that cat, or you can have both. You can have a fingerprint plus pin, and so it depends on what level of security do you want, and then you can do all of those things, right? And so, yeah, I mean, it would be a lot more efficient if everybody had a single identification card. And the other thing I neglected to mention, Tim, is you can put your credit card information on there too, so you can use it for transactions, right? You can use it for signing documents, bank documents, and all of these things can be done using this one ID. And so we're in the process of we stood up a what we call a commercial certificate authority, where we're rolling it out to the bottling companies. And hopefully we can get that to take. And then once that that upsell happens, hopefully that'll be one domino, and then we can start pushing it out to other industries.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff.
That's so. Now, let's just talk about the financials real quick. So we've talked about the fact that we're going to cash flow positive, but how many shares outstanding, fully diluted?
We're probably at about 9 million shares sitting out there, yeah, I think that there's about 10 or 15% institutional investors.
Okay.
Insiders probably has about 17-18%. We have a lot of retail investors, and they've been around. As soon as we won that DHS contract, that $500 million contract, we were the highest traded stock on Robinhood at like a week or so. I mean, we were way up there, right?
Yeah. But then, here's the funny thing. The first time you won the contract, and I'll just take a little history, and I can share this because I've been in the stock that long.
Thank you for your support.
Not to say that I haven't taken some off the table, because I did when it went to $16. Yeah. I took some off the table.
Good, right? Good.
But what blew me away, so the first time he got the contract, it wasn't that it was a very narrow margin, low margin contract, and actually was the time period when they were pretty much on the doorsteps of bankruptcy.
Right. Right.
You and your team came in, and literally, it was looking like WYY was going to go away. And you and your team turned that story completely around. There was a boatload of debt. I mean, a boatload of debt.
Yeah.
Right? How much debt
Yeah.
do you have right now, Jin?
Zippy. Zero. We have zero long-term debt. There is a little bit that shows up on the balance sheet, but that has to do with our operational long-term lease.
Right.
The gap treatment of these leases they treat it as a long-term debt, which it really isn't. And it's offset by the right to use, on our, credit side.
Sure.
And so it's really not. So in terms of debt, we have zero. We have a very clean capital structure. We don't have preferred shares or warrants sitting out there, options and all of this stuff. Nothing to talk about there. It's a very clean. We're talking about 9 million shares of common stock that's out there, and that's pretty much it.
So when you came in, it was a disaster. You bit the bullet on some things. You did. I think you did a reverse, right?
We did a reverse split. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did what was a 10-for-1 reverse split. And, in hindsight, I think it probably, didn't help us or hurt us. The conventional wisdom was to do the reverse so that we would be above the $5, price point so that larger institution could hold it. But it really didn't help us in that sense. Maybe when we get to over $5 this time around, it'll stick, and maybe more institution will buy into that.
Well, you have a very different profile now, because what it was back then was you just pretty much had the one big contract that wasn't that profitable to begin with, right?
Right.
That is not the story here today, right?
No.
It's a very different company than it was way back then, and it's trading below where it was trading way back then.
Right.
Which is insane.
Yeah. It's insane. It's insane, but it's a matter of time now. And so as we put out more material news, we should, see that, continue to, move in the right direction. And I think that, the whole, general, the stock market condition with, all of the micro caps getting killed, and we were kind of thrown out. We were the baby that was thrown out with the bathwater, right? And so I think things are cycling back. They're circling back, and hopefully we'll be the beneficiary. We'll be one of the survivors.
So this is what I get excited about. And I love the fact that it's you that I'm talking to share this, because for the last 33 months, news has not mattered. Yes. For a micro cap or small cap company. It hasn't mattered.
Right.
You come out with news, maybe you get a bump first thing in the morning, but by the end of the day, you close red. That's how it has been for 33 months. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the technicals of the chart right now, right? And it's easy to see that it went from the upper left to the lower right.
Right.
That was the long-term trend line. And you can draw that trend line, and an interesting thing is happening. You are breaking the long-term trend line. And why is that significant? Well, because the longer the trend, the more strength or momentum or force it has behind it, right? So it takes something of equal or greater force to change that momentum, right? That's why it becomes such a big deal when you break a long-term trend. And that is, if you just take this and connect some points, right? I mean, you can see clearly that this has recently changed the direction.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Wow. What does that mean? It means this could be the beginning of a new long-term trend. And maybe this time it goes from the lower left to the upper right.
Upper right.
Right? And if that's the case, so, look, I will say this. This is what it gets me excited about, not just your stock, but the market. Because news appears to matter now.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if you look at where the stock has gone, so you had a big resistance line right here at about $2.35, right? And the reason I say that is because there's a bunch of touch points where it acted as support and then it acted as resistance on the upside. Well, and you touched that point, you touched it, and every time you touched it, you fell back down.
Right.
Well, now you busted through that, right? And then you busted through another touch point or another area of resistance. You look back here where this yellow line is, that was resistance. You broke through that. Now, it would be, you could say that you probably are due for a little bit of a pullback because you've had a massive run in a very short period of time, right? Okay, so you come back. I think that level probably is somewhere around $3.
Okay.
$2.89 to $3 is where you're probably now going to establish a floor, where you're actually going, that now becomes your floor. It was your ceiling, and you may trade sideways for a little bit, and that's very healthy action. You don't want to have a parabolic move, and because parabolic moves usually end in
coming back down.
Right? What's healthy is you get a pop, you go sideways, you get a pop, you go sideways, you get a pop, you stair step up. That
so
is.
You think we should hold back the award news until it just stabilizes again?
I would ever run the business according to the technicals. Okay. I would never do that.
I'm just kidding.
I know you are, but this is exciting, and it's an exciting thing for more than just WYY, because it says to me that the street and that the investors are starting, the animal spirits are coming back, and I can see it happening right before my eyes, and it's happening with WYY.
Yeah.
What's beautiful about it is you didn't blow up your cap table. You don't need to raise capital. You have zero debt for the most part.
Right.
Zero
debt.
9 million shares outstanding.
Yeah.
So how many are in the float?
It's probably like, probably take 20% off. It's probably where we are, right?
Right.
But so there's plenty of liquidity.
So it's gone to 16 once, and I think it's gone higher than that. Has it gone higher than that?
No. It was like 15 and a half, 16, somewhere around there was the, like intraday.
Yeah. So, I mean, can it go back to 16? Absolutely. Am I saying it's going to? I'm not saying it's going to, just to make everybody clear.
We got $100 million in revenue, and our market cap is 30 million, right? Even if half of that was carrier services, right? We're still at 50 million. It's like less than one-time revenue,
So back in 2015, the stock was 22.93 equivalent, right? So
22 equivalent. Okay.
Yeah, 22.93. So this thing it came all the way down. It took out its all-time low. Never was it in the kind of shape that it was in when Jin came in. It's not even come close to that. Right? And you took out the previous low.
Right.
That's how insane this is. That's how insane the pullback has been in the small and micro cap space. And here's the thing. I think the Fed is probably done with the interest rate hikes. And I'm only saying that because it's a presidential election year. And I don't think they're going to be raising the rates through a presidential election year. That's my belief. Doesn't mean that I think they're going to cut, although I do think they're going to cut, because all those raises, the fastest interest rate hike cycle in history, all of those raises have not even worked their way through the system yet. It's still coming, right? And I think they went really aggressive, really fast, and I think their next move will be, we better cut.
Yeah, yeah.
My personal belief. And if that's the case, even if they stand pat, at least we know what the climate looks like with interest rates, right? And that should be a cause for celebration. So, you know, I could be all wet, but this stock chart right here is a very good indicator for the small and micro cap space because the news is starting to matter.
Yeah.
And it's getting volume. I mean, there's good liquidity there. Like you said, Jen, there's some good volume there,
Yeah.
right? This is you are having a sustainable move as opposed to being a pop and flop, right?
Yeah.
And you took out some resistance areas. So this is exciting. You know, can it pull back? Absolutely. But this would be a place that if there is a pullback, you know, I would be looking to potentially take a starter position if you're not in it, or you take an add on a pullback to an area of support. That would be my view, right? Insider participation. Has there been an insider in the last year?
Well, the timing was, well, in last year we did. And like the third quarter and the second quarter, insider were able to buy. The fourth quarter, the timing of the awards were so fast and furious, you know, it was like
you had a blackout.
Yeah, we had an open window and then we had an award. And so we had to wait 48 hours. They got another award, had to wait 48 hours. It went another. And so it was just like, and then, you know, they wouldn't allow us to put out the press release or the 8K until the thing was done, even though they gave us a verbal. And so it was like, and so we got the last 8K that was actually awarded to us in December, probably in the second week of December. And we were thinking that we'll put the press release out and that we will buy the shares. But turns out that we didn't put the, you know, 8K out until yesterday, right? And so we were kind of like handcuffed. We couldn't buy.
Right.
And now the end of year is over. Until we announce the numbers for the 2023, we can't buy. Right. And so I'm a buyer at these prices. I mean, we're talking $30 million in market cap, and we're doing, you know, over $100 million in the last trailing 12 months. And we're going to add to that number, huh?
With no debt.
With no debt.
Right.
With cash on the balance sheet.
What are the margins around on average?
Yeah, gross margins for our business is without our carrier services is probably around 40%, and we're trying to get that to 50. Right. And so it's just a matter of time. I mean, it's just a matter of time.
This is a need, not a want. This is a need that is probably going to only increase, especially with all these threats or potential threats that are out there, right?
Yeah.
It becomes even more and more of a need.
Yeah.
You have a proven track record, a stellar track record with Department of Homeland Security and the Census Bureau and the other customers that you have, right?
Yeah. ATF, Department of Justice, Health and Human Services, CDC. You probably heard of them, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
You think CDC might be important? You think they might be important with this crazy pandemic thing happening? So, I mean, we had CDC for now probably going on 12 or 15 years. And so we have a lot of federal government agencies that we've had for a long time. And we're continuing to add to that. And hopefully we'll continue to add, you know, some of these other departments as well. But, you know, we're also at the same time, while trying to capture those, we're trying to capture commercial business, like McDonald's, like Coca-Cola.
Which took a little bit of time to get traction.
Yeah.
It seems like it's starting to pick up.
Yeah.
And then if you get other big awards within the government, that's just more validation for your product for the corporations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, we're saving them money. We're making them more secure. We're identifying all the endpoints, with the strongest multi-factor authentication solution available. I mean, this is all good stuff.
Jim, didn't we talk once about being able to use the ID on robotics?
Yes, yes. So we can, what you can do is you can put these digital certificates not only on these chips, but you could put them on the SIM cards and the hardware for all of the devices that are out there, right? And you put the piece of software on there to say, don't accept any, control or any direction or instructions from anything other than those people who are secured with this ID. Right.
So if somebody somehow did hack into the system or whatever,
yeah.
They're not going to be able to give commands to shut down the oil pipelines.
Correct. Right. Even if they were on that network, let's say, assuming that somehow they were on there, the valve will say, hey, give me your digital certificate. And then they'll say, here you go. And it says, nope, wrong certificate. Can't do it. Right. And so
right.
It will identify, Internet of Things, and you can put those digital certificates on all the pieces.
So
of
the ransomware that the company wound up having to pay, they probably wouldn't have had to pay if they would have had your solution.
Correct. So if a hacker tried to come into your infrastructure and they didn't have the right credentials, they couldn't even get on the network to, encrypt the files, right? And so, that's, again, zero trust. You say, hey, who are you? Oh, you're not who you say you are. Sorry, you can't come in the front door, right, or the back door. And so
that's it. I think that's a great way to paint a picture of what it is that you're providing, right? And as we are, I'm just thinking about the fact that you said McDonald's just opened up a fully autonomous restaurant in, I think, Austin, Texas, right? Where they got essentially robots making all the food. I mean, and as that becomes more prolific, and I think that will happen, you're going to need a solution for those robots.
Yeah. You need to identify, those robots and, who's making the order, because you don't want some robot to order 15,000 Big Macs and then somebody in the back is cooking 1,500, especially if there's an online order and things like that. And you can do that, when you do the online order, you can use your mobile device to do the online order, but you can identify that person 100%, right?
Right.
And so that it's not a fake order.
Yeah. All right, Jin. I know I took up a lot of your time, but I
really appreciate it.
This is definitely worth doing. I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited about you, but I'm excited about the market in general. This is a very it's a great development, and hopefully it lasts. It stays for a while. Widepoint, WYY. If you're interested, I would recommend you go to the website and you go to email alerts. You sign up for their email alerts. And that way, when they have any kind of press release, you'll get it sent directly to your email. And you just pay attention to the story.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Really appreciate the time. I mean, just follow us. And we're one of these companies that's going to be around for the long haul.
Jin is a straight shooter. I got to tell you, when I first reached out to Jin, the first phone call, it was like, I felt like it was a really cold call, right? It just felt like there was like no warmth on the other end of that phone. But Jin actually is probably one of the funniest guys, great sense of humor, and he's transparent. He's a straight up guy. He's just a straight up guy. Yeah. And that's what I love about you. You're a smart guy. You have a clear vision. You have a great team that you built around you. I mean, this is a real company doing real business. And I would say they have proven now twice that they can get through some really challenging times without destroying the cap table. Exactly.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And we, as I said, we're built for the long haul. We got a lot of opportunities. We're in the right space with cybersecurity and identity management and managed mobility. It's just a matter of time. As I said, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Yep, that's great. All right, Jin, thank you so much. Let's not have the space that we had this.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
let's
Okay.
suck it up. Maybe after you report.
Put out another press release.
Yeah, put out another press release. All right, Jin. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you,
Hold
Tim.
on
I
one
really
second. I'm
appreciate
gonna
it.
turn this off. Hold on.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hey there, and thanks for tuning in to today's CEO interview. We had a follow-up with Jin Kang, CEO of Widepoint Corporation, ticker symbol WYY. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like, give us a share. How about smashing that subscribe button? Those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf, and if you can do that for me, I can tell you it is genuinely appreciated. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.